to what we've got to say about our proposed care at home framework for older adults. I'd also just like to make a quick mention. I know there'll be many of you that will probably have kids at home with you just now, given the teachers being off today and tomorrow. If don't worry about being distracted. As Fran said, there'll be a recording sent out, and we are going to run a few sessions like these as well. They'll all be thematic, but we'll run a few to get good engagement. So just thought I would start off by introducing myself. So my name is Neil McKechnie. I'm the Contracts, Commissioning and Quality Manager for West Dunbartonshire Health and Social Care Partnership. I'm really new into this post. I only joined just before December. Just before Christmas. So only been here a few months, and one of our kind of key priorities is looking at the care at home framework for older adults. My background is largely provider, so I've worked with providers for about 10 years, covering children's services, adult services, residential, homelessness, addictions, so a fair spread of experience around about social care. I've also spent a little bit of time with working with the Coalition of Care and Support Providers in Scotland, where I worked on the Commissioning Procurement Reform Programme, which was funded by Scottish Government, where we looked at different models of commission procurement within social care, and specifically the collaborative commissioning model, which is something I will hopefully explain as we go on to discuss the framework in a little bit more detail. So what I'm really looking to get out of these sessions is engagement with yourselves. West Dunbartonshire have a relatively small pool of providers who deliver care at home services for us, for our older people, and we would very much like to see that grow so that we can offer people choice and more control within the services and the packages of care that they offer. And we're looking to do that across all areas of the health and social care partnership. And this framework gives us a really good opportunity to do that. One of the main things I would like to really just impart on is that we are going to run some sessions over and above this one. So this is very much an introductory session where we're really happy to be hosted by Supplier Development Programme Scotland, and we'll have some information about procurement that will be passed on to you by colleagues Angus Cameron and Susan Todd, who are on the call. But just couple of quick dates for your diary, and again you'll get these in the recording as well, but it'll be the 29th of March at 2 p.m. we'll do a follow-up session to this one, and then there'll be a further session on the 20th of April around about 2 o'clock as a further follow-up. And we are looking to kind of have our framework launched, and by launched I mean have available for having responses to whichever type of tender process that we deem suitable to go through. So that'll come in May, and then obviously full implementation will happen kind of probably towards the end of the summer. So that's some of the technical stuff. The actual nuts and the bolts of the framework, as an HSEP, we've obviously got some ideas that we would like to discuss with you, but what we're really looking to do, and again please feel free to use the chat function, is just to capture some feedback from you guys about experiences of these types of frameworks that you've been on before, things that have worked, things that haven't worked. And again, we will go into some detail about that in other sessions, but just if there's anything immediate that you think that we would need to know just now, that would be very much appreciated. From a looking at a service specification, some of the ideas that we've got are to have the framework based on a set of agreed outcomes. Now, I know individuals have outcomes and they're very personal to that person and their type of care and support that they receive. But what I'm meaning by framework outcomes is, what are we wanting to achieve by having this framework in place? So it's things like we're looking to ensure we support people to live independently at home for as long as possible, to help support people to stay I suppose, at home and reduce unscheduled hospitalisation visits, and to help reduce any kind of social isolation that people may experience within West Dunbartonshire. There isn't any one answer to each of those outcomes or outputs, but that's the type of thinking that we've got behind why we're doing what we're doing. And the underlying point of all of this is we've got self-directed support, and we need to ensure that that's properly included within the framework and the mechanics for that, so that people can choose who they would like to have support them. And in order to give choice, we need to make sure that we've got a sufficient pool of providers in that respect. Again, when we go on to look at some of the follow-on sessions in March and April, we will look into that in a little bit more detail, but it's just to give you a sense of the direction of travel that we're going in. So it's an outcomes-based framework, looking at those three principles and others that I'm sure will come up as we go through these engagement sessions. And what we'll also want to look at is we want to make sure that this offers parity. And by parity, what I mean is not just lumping everything into the one category. I'd like to very much have this framework drafted into different lots, and the lots can be locality based, and the lots can also be driven by need and specialisms. So we may look at a need for have a lot specifically for those with dementia, those with complex care needs, so maybe ones with multiple reasons or diagnosis, such as dementia and Alzheimer's. There's also other kind of more complex areas that we want to make sure are fully considered as well, such as palliative care. And we'll look to see how we can operate in the lots of those ones as well that are really specific for and related to West Dunbartonshire in terms of our demographics. And finally, the other angle in all of this is to look at our community assets, about what do they look like and how do we maximize those through the usage of our framework. And for full kind of transparency as well, it makes perfect sense for us to go and have very similar conversations to our carers of West Dunbartonshire. West Dunbartonshire Carers Centre, we'll be engaging with those guys and looking to speak to those with lived experience. So carers who are supporting older adults, and where appropriate, looking to engage with older adults as well, to ensure that they understand kind of what we're looking to do, why we're looking to do, and take their ideas, and if they have particular things they want us to be aware of, that they want us to include within the framework, we can look at how to do all of that. So we're trying to be as inclusive as we possibly can. We want to be collaborative. It's not just kind of us talking about what we're going to do. We want to get your feedback and your engagement. And this is I suppose the original call. We will provide you obviously with some more details round about volumes of opportunity that you can go through, whether that's hours or in terms of pounds and pence, and they'll be made available at the later sessions. But this is very much an introductory session to let you know what we're thinking, why we're looking to do it, and to help and hope foster some real positive engagement and to bring you along this type of journey that we're going on. Now, I absolutely get we might not get every angle of this correct, and there might be a few mistakes made, but I think if we do it all together, then we could end up in a really good place about what our framework looks like. So they're the main points I wanted to go over. I think it's really helpful that we've got that we are hosted by SDP. I've been to a few sessions in previous roles where any information about how to access tenders and what a tender is comes towards the very end, and you feel as if you don't get enough opportunity to really go through, register, and take the time to maybe get some additional support that you might need if there is to be a full-blown kind of tender taking place. So what we wanted to do is make sure that this happened early, gives everybody the opportunity to get signed up in the right places, to be aware of where the opportunities are going to be hosted and what mediums that we're going to use. And that brings me probably on nicely to introduce colleagues Angus and Susan. Angus and Susan are our procurement experts. I work very closely with both. growth. And the one thing I'm very keen, and I always make reference to when talking with Angus, is to look at what is the most appropriate process that we need to go through. That doesn't mean that something is so unwieldy and difficult that it puts barriers up for providers to gain access to our frameworks. We want to make this as simplistic as possible, as straightforward as possible, that still allows us to ensure that we've got the right providers who are safe, who deliver quality care, and who are bought into the outcomes that we're looking to achieve through the implementation of our framework. So as I said, that's a bit of a snapshot about what we're doing here today and why we're here. I am going to just quickly pass on to Angus and Susan, who will take you through some of the more procurement specifics about what we're looking to achieve, and then we'll pass back to SDP after that. So thank you very much for giving up some time today. And I know it's probably always a challenge doing it on days where there's kids at home and on multiple devices, and IT kind of equipment can be strained through that basis. So we're all with you on that. But thanks very much for joining, and I'll hand over to Angus and Susan.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, as Neil was saying, my name's Angus Cameron. I'm one of the business partners within the corporate procurement unit here at West Dunbartonshire Council. So I manage a team of staff, and together we support and manage a range of tender opportunities and contracts for a number of the client service areas within the council. Health and social care obviously being one of them. So I work closely, as does Susan, with our college and HSCP commissioning team for all their contractual requirements, one of which being this framework. So just in terms of what we're trying to achieve here, we had issued a prior information notice out to the market. But obviously, as Neil's hinted upon, we're very keen to engage in with the market as early as possible. So that it's almost that we're setting out a sort of collaborative framework where we're ensuring that we're getting the requirements as early as possible, and that's coming from the service providers themselves. So we want to listen to your views and opinions to ensure that we're obtaining your feedback. What are the challenges? What are the constraints? What's the current market place like at the moment? What are your drivers? What are the main key issues, so that we're capturing that? But we don't want to be a painstaking process as well for the providers to have to go through. So this is the idea of hosting these sessions, and also ensuring that when we do go to tender, we've got the supplier development programme along as well, so that they can provide the support and assistance required, so that you do have the best possible opportunity when we do go out to tender for this. So that's a kind of brief overview of what we're trying to achieve here. And I'll pass over to Susan just to give an introduction and to basically add anything that I might have missed. Thanks.
Hi Susan, are you able to take yourself off mute? We're not hearing you. Oh, apologies, Angus. I think Susan's struggling with technology today. It's not working for her. She appears to be frozen. Are you able to continue with? I think Susan's left. She's going to rejoin the meeting. Are you able to? Oh, no, Susan's back. Do either of you guys want to pick up then what Susan's going to continue with?
Yeah, I can jump in there. This is one of the downfalls of video conferencing and doing video calls like this is tech can work 1 minute, and the next minute when you rely on it, it doesn't. So no worries whatsoever with that. I suppose I can give just a little bit more context about what we want to do on the 29th of March and the 20th of April. 29th of March, I think
there's too much.
Oh. Oh.
Yep.
I think we've got a delay with
Start
Susan.
again.
I've had this before when you end up speaking and then all of a sudden, 2 minutes later it catches back up. So we'll keep going. So the the 29th of of March, we're going to probably look to get you all back together again, and again using the chat function or maybe some other kind of ways to share, try to get some views of lots about how to split that up within West Dunbartonshire, what you've seen work well before, and we'll go through and we'll explain what lots we think would work. And we'd like to put that out to you guys to really give some feedback on that, to let us know what you think. Does it look? Is it sensible? Is there other things you think we could be looking at, or have we overcomplicated it? Because that's something we need to know as well. If we're looking to over-engineer something, then we would like you to tell us. And then on the 20th of April, what we'll do is we'll use that as a final kind of session to get any other feedback that we need, and hopefully by then we'll have engaged with West Dunbartonshire carers and we can impart anything that we've had from those guys as well, to give you just a full kind of stance about where we're looking to take it. And also by that point we'll be able to look at what actual process that we're going to go to the market with, i.e. hopefully it will be something around about the light touch regime, if we can do that, and just explain some of the things that we might want to ask, again, just to make sure everybody's as prepared as we possibly can be. Those would be the additional points I think Susan was going to cover off, but I would just like to really stress we do want this to be a collaborative process. It's not something that we don't want to be kind of just doing things to the market and expecting you to jump. We want to do this together. So it is really important for us that we hear your views. So again, anything that you've got you want to impart with us just now, please do so using the chat function. That would be really useful for us to hear. But that's our main points for today. Angus, is there anything you want to add into that before we pass back to Fran?
Yeah, I suppose if there was anything that we had issued out the pre-market questionnaire, so I suppose if there was anything in amongst the questioning within that that you wanted to ask at this particular moment in time, you know, we can answer those questions. But as Neil was touching upon, it really is about you know, needing your input, and you know, if you have participated in other frameworks, you know, what worked well, what didn't work well, you know, what are the key challenges in terms of you know, engaging with local authorities, but also in terms of when, you know, we don't want to be just saying here's a framework and get on with it. We want it to work well for the providers as well as for ourselves, obviously. So in terms of the procurement aspect of it, in terms of the light touch, we look to make it as easy as possible for our service areas to call off from and to work with the providers. So it will be in terms of pre-engagement, but also post-engagement as well. So in terms of post-tender, the contract supplier management thereafter, ensure that it's working well for everyone throughout the duration of the framework, not just setting it up and leaving it. It's also making it as easy as possible for service areas to call off from, so we're not getting bogged down with bureaucracy, red tape, or it's a kind of a complicated call-off process. So it's really the full start to end process that we want to look at and make sure that we're capturing that as early as possible so we can build it into the framework once that goes live. But then thereafter, work with providers to make sure it's collaboration right through.
Perfect.